Hey, what's up guys, Reefing Ain't Easy. Today I wanted to go over the optical sensor for the Neptune Apex. I wanted to give a couple different scenarios where this might be helpful and you might want to explore getting it. If you do decide to get it, how to set it up and use it, and then most importantly, kind of my review on it and what I think of them. And then last but not least, just kind of based on my experience with them, I was curious about connecting an optical sensor to your Apex in a couple different ways, but since I already have it all set up, unless there's some other people out there that want me to explore that and try that out, if I get a couple comments of people wanting that, I'll go ahead and go for it and see if I can make it work and show you how. So first, let's just go over what the optical sensor is and why you might want to use it. Basically, it's a little infrared sensor, looks like this, and it detects whether or not it's wet or dry, whether or not it's submerged in water or it's in the air. It's pretty easy how it works. There's just a beam of light that goes across, and if it gets submerged in water, less light gets transmitted over to the side that senses the light, and it tells it if it's on or off, closed or open. It's that simple. It's just sending a signal saying open or closed, 0 or 1. That's basically how it works. So one reason you might want to use an optical sensor is you can put it in your sump where your return pump is, and you can put it at a certain level. Then you can program your Apex to say, hey, if this is open, meaning that it's exposed to air, so if the water drops down below the sensor, turn off my return pump so that it doesn't run dry, because it could suck all the water out and then the return pump will start pulling in air, which isn't good for it. But you can put a little fail-safe on there saying, hey, if you hit the optical sensor, turn off return pump. Another reason you might want to use it is for DIY, automatic top off. I actually use that. So I have a sensor in the bottom of my ATO reservoir, and when the water gets below that, it turns on a solenoid that allows water to fill it back up. And then there's another sensor up top, and when it hits that sensor, it turns off the solenoid so that I don't have to refill my ATO. It just automatically does it for me, saves me the headache of trying to remember and doing that. I think you get the point. In the aquarium hobby, there's just so many different cases where you could use an optical sensor to tell if there's water in a place or not. In order to use it on the Neptune Apex, you have to get an FMM module, which is a fluid monitoring module. That's about $100. And then the sensor itself will cost you either $25 without a magnet, or if you want to get the magnet with it, it's an extra $10, so $35. So it can get pretty pricey. If you just want one, you're looking at $125 plus tax. And in most scenarios, that magnet's pretty handy, so more like $135. But then if you need another one, it's only $25 to $35, and you can connect up to 4 to 1 FMM module. Now, if you're looking for a cheaper way just to have something that'll tell you whether or not a water is in a reservoir with the Apex, you could buy a breakout box and then a float switch and configure that up. That's a whole nother video, but that'll save you some money. The breakout box is $40, and the float switches themselves are pretty inexpensive. I saw on Amazon you can actually get 6 for like $13, almost like $2 and some cents a piece. So you can see they're really economical if you're just looking to do some basic stuff. But the optical sensor theoretically should be less maintenance and a little bit more durable. So I literally just have my FMM module Velcro to the back of my aquarium right here. This is what it looks like. I'll get you a close-up shot. It's got a little green status light on there, and here's the ports on the bottom. You can see I have 3 connected. I have 2 Aquabus cables, one's for power, and then one is daisy chained to my automatic top-off feeder up there. And you can see I have one more port open if I want to use it for a sensor, and one is for power, and the other is a DP link, I believe, the ACC. Now one thing you'll see up here, I have actual wires that go all the way over to my saltwater mixing station. I'll show you real quick. And here's where they're coming in from. I bought these on Amazon. They're basically headphone jack extenders. You need the one with the 3 black lines on there. So I'll put a link in the description if you need to get something to extend them. And then they connect to my sensors. You know, here's the magnetic part of one sensor, and the right here's the magnetic part of the other sensor. And I'll show you where my 3rd sensor is right there, and it senses when my ATO reservoir gets low, and then it fills it back up automatically, actually with this guy right here, which I'll do a video on All right, and then I actually have 2 more sensors come with this reservoir for your dose pump, where you can dose stuff. If you look in there, there are 2 sensors that tell you when the fluid in your reservoir is empty. And those actually plug straight into a dose that I have right here. And I'm not sure, but I think the connection might be that ACC port on the fluid module. Maybe you can use it to plug it into there. All right, so after you've plugged your FMM module into your Apex, and then you've taken the sensor and plugged it into the FMM module, you're going to come to your dashboard on the Fusion and click on this gear icon. Then you're going to go to this module icon here, and under type you should see FMM somewhere, and then you'll see a generic name and a number. Go ahead and click there. And if you'd like to change the name of your module, you can here. I chose to leave mine alone. Gallons or liters for US or other parts of the world. Now, if it doesn't say software version okay here, you can click this drop down, press update software, and hit this button here, and it's going to update the firmware on the device. After that's done, you'll come back to this screen. So I believe the default will just say water on floor, look like this, like port 2. So you can manually change it to optical sensor because that's what we plugged in. You can see there's other things you can plug into it and leave it as is, or just go ahead and click auto detect, and it should, let's see if I have it on some random one and press that, it should automatically detect what's plugged in there. But regardless, I would, put it on optical and then go ahead and press that, and it should work just fine for you. If you have some issues, that's one thing to check, is make sure that it does read it as an optical sensor and that it is labeled as an optical sensor here. Earlier you saw I had ports 1 through 3 filled. I moved 2 to 4 because I was trying to remember how I configured this so I could make this video for you guys. Now go back to your dashboard after you've done that, and you're going to click on your tiles, and up here you're going to see some switches for different things. That number that you saw in the module here, that 5 next to my FMM, that's going to tell you where this is. So there's a couple tricks. One is you're going to go to your tiles, and it's going to say SWX, and then it should say that number 5. So you can see mine's here, SWX 5-4. But let's say it was 6, it would look like this. SWX 6-1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your 4 ports. Another trick is go ahead and put the optical sensor in water, and it should say closed. The default is open, so you'll see all these, are gray, and then you'll see the one that is orange that's saying open, and it should help you find them. The other trick is once you bring this down into your interface, unlock the tiles, you're going to click here, and it'll tell you under location. This is the digital switch 4 on the fluid monitoring module named FMM-5 at Aquabus address 5. This will say whatever you renamed it if you chose to rename it. And now you can change the name of this switch to whatever you want. So I'll show you my 5 switches. They're all down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what's nice about this is you can use these to program things to happen within your Apex. So I'll give one example, and I think you can see the opportunities are endless. For my ATO filler, which is actually a RODI Flood Guardian, plugged into a outlet in my Apex, and what I programmed it to do is saying if this sensor is open, meaning that it's not wet, then turn that outlet on, and then after 180 minutes turn it off. So what it does is it turns that on, and it automatically starts filling up the reservoir, and then the Flood Guardian has its own little optical sensor. After it gets full, it shuts the solenoid valve off, and then that happens a lot quicker than the 180 minutes. Then it turns off, and then it repeats the process. Something I want to show, you can see the alkalinity reservoir, it's not empty. It is definitely submerged in water. However, when we go to look at my Apex here, you can see that my ALK sensor right here says that it's open, and my calcium says that it's closed. So this is supposed to say that it's closed, but it doesn't. So I have a total of 5 sensors, and one I really don't use. It's the one that tells me when it's full. In theory, it would have been good because the water comes up, it's full, and then I turn it off. but I realized I gotta be standing right there to turn it off, and sometimes there's a delay for the notification. So I could probably repurpose that sensor for something else. So I basically have 4 sensors that I actually use, and 2 of them don't work, which is kind of shocking and surprising. One is pretty new. So you can see right there that my alkalinity sensor says that it's empty and it's open. And basically the way that this has happened is, you know, my alk did get low, I did get a notification, which is nice, but then it never switched. And you can see here, I even cleaned this out, I wiped off the sensor, looked for something wrong, and it still doesn't work. And what's really annoying is they don't just get stuck in one position sometimes, they'll just kind of switch back and forth. Like, you know, my alk will be like, oh, it's closed, now it's open, now it's closed, now it's open. And so you're just constantly getting like, alarm is on, alarm is off, alarm is on, for your notifications and stuff. So I actually turned those alarms off, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having the sensor in the first place. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. Please comment or let me know if there's some trick or something that I am doing wrong that's causing that. But as far as I can tell, these don't work very well. They're not very reliable. They break and they get stuck in the on-off position. Now, on the flip side of that, they are really powerful and useful. Like the one in my ATO works perfectly. I've never had an issue with it. And it's great because I don't have to worry about my ATO. You know, when the water gets low, fills it back up, and it's been working great. But if you think about it, you know, 2 out of 4 have broken on me. Let's even call it 2 out of 5, even though I don't really use one. That's terrible. That's really bad. That's between 40 and 50% of them break and don't work and cause issues. So I just obviously can't recommend it. But on the flip side, like I said, I mean, I really like it. If they only worked, it would be amazing. That's the problem though, is that, you know, half the time they break, and then yeah, I could buy another one, but we're talking $25 to $35. Now, the last part of the review, which I am curious about doing, I just don't need it right now. But if anyone comments and they would like to see this, I'll go ahead and dive into it and see if I can figure it out. But I'm pretty sure I can just buy a third-party optical sensor and connect it to the Apex. And I can do it, I think, in 2 different ways. One is, you can see here from these parts, it'd be pretty easy to just, you know, plug it in, and you can see these optical sensors are like $3, which everything in this hobby is super expensive. I'm not surprised at all on the markup. If anything, I thought it'd be more, but I'm pretty sure I can just connect that. And then the other thing is, I'm pretty sure with the breakout box, I can connect an optical sensor. You know, there's a lot that have 3 wires, and basically it's just a ground and a signal wire, which is just like the float switches that connect to the optical sensors. But there's a 3rd wire for power, which is like a 5-volt power, which I think I could easily do, and I could actually just attach to the breakout box another little port that has power, so that it all just runs to one place, but you have your power and then your ground and signal, and then use it on the breakout box. See, I'm pretty sure you could do this for a lot less money and still be the same sensor. You might have to buy one of those little magnet clips if you want it to be magnetic. Alright, so I wanted to make this video to show you how to set it up if you do decide to go that route. Or buy these, and really just kind of warn you, you might end up spending $125, $135 for one sensor that doesn't really do its job or work for you, which is, you know, why I say reefing ain't easy. But I appreciate you watching. See you next time.